Hello all and welcome back. I hope you're doing really well. Thank you yet again for the love and support on yesterday's video. I really appreciate that, and hopefully it helps some of you guys purchase some Galaxy tokens very early on into the life cycle of that product. That being said, today is obviously not a good day for crypto, and neither was yesterday or the subsequent days for that matter. Everything across the board is bleeding out massively, and that goes for equities as well. I'm getting absolutely hammered here in crypto, as well as my positions over in some big US stocks and companies. That being said, I'm sure many of you will be feeling similar to me today, unless you have incredibly low average cost points. I just wanted to reiterate my position and fundamentals on these projects have not changed in the slightest. We may be looking a lot more bearish than we have been previously, and there is a higher potential that we do end up receding into a bear market, particularly with the many factors at play. If we do a quick recap, we've obviously got C-19 still on people's minds and lockdowns in China. We've got increasing inflation. We've got monetary policy increasing interest rates. We've got yield curve crosses due to those interest rate hikes, and bonds are gaining speed. We've got the Russia-Ukraine crisis. We've got supply chain issues across the board, and there are tons of other factors as well. Obviously, this is all driving a cost of living crisis over here in the UK, and probably similar things are unfolding in the US. And as a direct result, there are many recession fears looming over these markets, and you're seeing a lot of investors begin to de-risk. That being said, I wanted to cover some of the news today and share my thoughts on feelings on that news and whether there's a light at the end of the tunnel. That being said, if we pull up the crypto bubbles and we begin a market overview, we can see majority of projects are down massively, even over a 24-hour period. And this is just continuing, like I said, from the subsequent couple of days. I will be covering UST and Luna in a bit more detail in this video, as something extraordinary has happened with Luna, and it has really spooked the market and sort of shocked to the core the confidence of that UST stable coin that was meant to have been backed by the dollar or pegged to the dollar. That being said, if we actually look at this market overview, there are so many buying opportunities right now, and I'm taking this from the perspective of glass half full rather than half empty. So immediately jumping out to me, we've got Quant that again is down in the sort of $70 range. This is a fantastic buy. Chainlink's on here somewhere as well, sub $10 buy-in entry position for Chainlink at the moment. Hbar as well was dropped beneath or around the sort of 10 cents mark, wherever that is. You've got XLM, another ISO 20022 coin or project that I've been talking about an awful lot. Great buying opportunity here. Kronos or Crow as well fell like 20% recently. There are so many buying opportunities, and I'm literally, as of today, this morning as well, I put some more money to work in the market. I purchased some more Quant and some more Hbar tokens. I will be looking to increase my position in Link, which is what I was doing anyway. XLM, I'm also going to be purchasing some more Kronos, and also eyeing up some near for a short-term play. So I say short-term, 6 to 12 month play potentially, just because the price is so good at the moment for projects like that. That being said, if we flick over and we actually look at the fear and greed index for crypto, we are currently in extreme fear, and this is one of the largest drawdowns we've seen on this indicator for quite a while at a 10. Now, historically, as I've mentioned previously, whenever we are in these extreme fear phases, this is a fantastic buying opportunity for people that have the conviction to stick in the markets for the long term. Of course, history does not always repeat itself into the future. However, it does have significant impact on what may happen, as patterns do seem to repeat over time. Like I've said previously, we are now at a very, very low point on this crypto fear and greed index. I don't think we've actually seen a 10 since the middle of June 2021. Just goes to show how much of a drawdown we're currently seeing and how much potential upside there may be. That being said, I do not have a crystal ball, and I have no idea when this market will decide to turn around. We can look at some macro announcements effectively that can help push the markets back towards the positive and move that needle upwards. So some of this week's major US economic report and Fed speakers on Wednesday, May the 11th, so tomorrow, there are several different key economic metrics that will be released. for their actuals, that being the CPI or Consumer Price Index, the core CPI year over year, as well as the core CPI year over year, and the federal budget. Now, if we do get some positive news out of these announcements on Wednesday, i.e. CPI is appearing to have peaked, and it won't be as bad towards the end of the year as they were initially forecasting, we may see some of these markets turn around as these big institutions end up plowing money back in, and you'll get a domino effect of retail piling back in. There are many people at the moment sitting on the sidelines, and you can see that from the dominance of the USDT and other stable coins in the crypto markets. Majority of people have sold out of their positions and are currently holding stable coin pegged US dollar tokens, and they're waiting effectively for some kind of bottom to announce itself or reversal pattern so they can enter in. That being said, we may also see something like a dead cat bounce, where we see a small relief rally and then it continues to the downside. That would not be unusual. We see that very often in the Bitcoin charts and the cryptocurrency market in general, as well as equities. So stay vigilant. That being said, obviously the bad news being Bitcoin did fall below $30,000, or has fallen below $30,000 for the first time since July 2021. And that kind of coincides with that fear and greed index metric I just showed you, of where we've seen the lows. The last time it was this low was back around that same sort of period in 2021, nearly almost a year ago. So Bitcoin has obviously tumbled below $30,000 for the first time since July, as interest rate rises send investors fleeing from the riskiest corners of global financial markets. The world's most actively traded digital token fell as low as $29,730 in Asia trading on Tuesday, according to Refinitiv data, before recovering to about $32,000 in the European activity. It's fallen more than 50% from the high it reached in November. And that being said, if you did go over to CoinMarketCap or any other sort of cryptocurrency tracker, you'd notice that majority of those crypto projects are now somewhere around 50 to 90% away from their all-time highs. As I mentioned previously, my strategy has always been a long-term one in these markets, and this gives one of the best opportunities for you to rebalance your portfolios and average down those positions where you may not have got the buy-in that you so wished. So for example, taking Hbar, us being around the 10-11 cent range, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to pull your average down if you were buying at the 20, 30, even 40 cent levels that we saw earlier in the year / the end of last year. This poses a brilliant time for you to be able to do that, and this may not be an opportunity that you see again. That's how I'm taking this. As I mentioned, glass half full. I see this as an opportunity to average into these blue chip positions that I want to hold for the long term. We may not see sales like this again. Just confirming and backing up that Financial Times article, there's actually some snippets here. Bitcoin is trading at its lowest level since July 2021. Losses are even deeper across the broader crypto markets. Crypto market value has just dropped by 1.6 trillion since the November high. And we can see here the value of the top 500 crypto assets in number of trillions, significant drawdowns since the end of that Q4 2021 / early sort of Q1 2022. Serious drawdown happening across the board, and it is very scary at the moment. That being said, Bitcoin City, so El Salvador's president has just unveiled the layout of a crypto utopia. A flagship product of Bitcoin-loving president is being built in the shadow of a volcano. So very interesting design here that they're looking to put together. Obviously, we've seen previously that El Salvador has been a massive proponent of Bitcoin and one of the first countries to legalize it as sort of national tender. And obviously continue to average into their positions. I know they're holding around 100 million US dollars of Bitcoin currently, somewhere in the region of 2,000 Bitcoins. Looking at some tweets from the Bitcoin archive, some other sort of positive news. Australia's first Bitcoin ETF will list in 2 days. This is something I mentioned in a couple of videos back now. This is incredibly bullish anyway, because it gives a lot of institutions easy access to purchase Bitcoin via an exchange traded fund. And there's that factoid I just mentioned. El Salvador now holds 2,301 Bitcoin. They are buying the dip. And also to corroborate what I was saying about 2 minutes ago, Bitcoin dip is here. And of course, you're waiting. When it's over, you'll tweet about just one more dip, please. A lot of people say this. And, you know, there's very famous tweets from very popular investors. You know, you effectively need to have kind of nerves of steel when markets get like this, and make sure you have that conviction. If you do not have the conviction you will not be willing to buy in market times like this. That being said, this is when the most amount of millionaires are made, and this is when the majority of people make their money. They do not make their money buying a massive green flag towards the upside and trying to chase the last 10% of the bull run. No, they don't. They make all of their money when they're purchasing, when no one else wants to buy the tokens at almost historical lows over a 52-week period, and then they ride that wave back towards the upside, take some profit, and rinse and repeat the cycle. The prevailing pattern there. Some other sort of bullish news for the crypto outlook over the long term, like I said, at the moment it's not particularly bullish whatsoever. Qualcomm's CEO has said metaverse hardware could be as big as smartphones, and we're just at the beginning. This is obviously a fundamental factor of the metaverse and Web 3.0 continuing to expand. And this is a narrative that I pushed in a lot of my videos, saying that we are incredibly early. There is mass adoption around the corner as more and more institutions come on board and they set up business divisions and other practices in order to capitalize on this Web 3.0 movement. Talking about that Luna drawdown that I mentioned previously and why we've seen the Luna token price fall around 50%. Great tweet from Blockworks here summarizing exactly what's happened and why this has massively shocked the confidence. I would be very, very careful about purchasing any of this UST peg from Luna. Obviously, currently, you could effectively do a piece of retail arbitrage, knowing that token is going to move back towards $1. I think it's currently around 70 cents. You could see 30 cents of upside on each dollar you put into it. However, from what I'm about to explain to you, a lot of the investor sentiment is completely dissolved. On Saturday, May the 7th, the UST peg from $1 was broken, and at around 10 p.m. UTC, it reached as low as $0.987. While things began to recover on Sunday, May the 8th, the market began to see a large downside. On Monday, UST started to flash crash even lower to 0.93 cents. This in turn caused Luna's supply to increase by over 1.9 million in under 48 hours and the price to fall over 25% due to the reflexivity of the Luna UST mechanism they have built. This lowers the lower Luna's price falls, the higher the risk of UST's solvency overall, i.e. it's nowhere near as liquid. We can kind of see this from the Luna circulating supply changes table here. Anchor Protocol has also seen over 5.2 billion in deposits leave in just under 72 hours, which is nearly a 40% decrease. Obviously, this is investors and retail traders leaving the platform because they are incredibly worried about the solvency. In order to help stop the bleeding, the LFG, so the Luna Foundation Guard, has loaned $750 million in Bitcoin and $750 million in UST to that liquidity pool, around half of their entire portfolio, to market makers to help defend the peg. As a result, we can see here the LFG Council has voted to execute the following. Similar to an LP position on AMM, the pool of BTC and UST will rebalance based on UST's price relative to $1. If UST is trading under $1, Bitcoin will be sold to buy UST, and if UST gets above $1, UST will be sold to buy back Bitcoin. Once LFG is confident in the peg, the loan will be paid back to the LFG in the form of BTC, leading to more total reserves if all of the loaned BTC is not sold off. However, despite this plan, it looks although 3 BTC wallets for LFG have been emptied. This can mean the LFG is ready to deploy all of its possible reserves to defend the peg if need be. Overall, this is an especially trying time for Terra and UST's peg. If UST stays below the peg for enough time, this could cause even more Luna to be minted and sold to the market, increasing risk of UST solvency. Best case scenario is that LFG is successful in restoring UST's peg and the value begins to flow back into the ecosystem. It's obviously terrible time at the moment, and Terra UST has actually come out and sort of put another Twitter thread out to try and defend what is happening here and try and stop misinformation. So we can see the UST market cap is greater than Luna, so no death spiral is apparently going to happen. And this is off the back of a tweet saying, what if Luna's market cap drops below UST's market cap? Well, there will initially be a lot of FUD on how UST is uncollateralized. Important, UST is not backed by Luna, but rather the demand of Luna. So this is what is causing this anyway. And then there's obviously some arbitrage to understand on Terra. The peg regaining takes time to do so given the parameters, but it will bounce back. and then the true peg on the on-chain peg never deviated. Obviously, it's due to this reflexivity that we see. That being said, across the board, obviously, this has completely shocked the confidence of the market investing in Luna and its stablecoin UST. Repeating from what I sort of said earlier as well, the last 24 hours has seen a ton of liquidations. Bitcoin 355 million, Ethereum 326 million, Luna 100 million, and so on and so forth in descending order. Total of 1.1 billion in liquidations, with nearly 290,000 traders being liquidated. As I've said previously, I'd steer well clear of leverage in uncertain markets like this. It's almost a complete suicide mission financially if you are trying to trade with leverage when there is so much volatility in these markets currently. Not something that any of us would advise. Binance resumes withdrawals for Luna and UST on the Terra network. So Binance obviously suspended withdrawals. Those have now been reinitiated as of about 25 minutes ago. So if you guys do hold any of these coins on Binance, you'd be able to withdraw them to any of these platforms if you choose to do so. Slightly more upbeat, the real Plan C tweeting here, the bottom of my golden basis band is $29,605. Bitcoin bounced at $29,730. We don't need the Confluence floor model yet. So hopefully we do see some stability return to Bitcoin here and it doesn't fall through any of these key zones. Obviously, Plan C has clearly got a key zone here of just shy of $30,000. We just about missed it, which is fantastic on the short-term frame. But we'll have to see how this continues to play out. There's obviously a lot of worries at the moment. This is potentially a falling knife situation and we may see a dead cat bounce, as I mentioned previously. Some positive news for Hedera to wrap the video up, and that is obviously to do with the token bureau, with its coupon bureau, which I've covered in previous videos on this channel. So if you want to learn a bit more information about them, make sure you go and dig those out. However, they effectively have a coupon service built on top of Hedera Hashgraph, and some incredibly positive news that the initial launch of RevTrax UMO in-store signage now live in Walmart and Family Dollar stores throughout the US. So effectively this has just been deployed and it is very bullish indeed. Massive network of 47,000 retail locations. Seriously bullish news for Hedera, and hopefully we start seeing these solutions bring the transactions to Hashgraph and obviously the Hedera ecosystem. It's obviously very bullish over the long term, especially as we're seeing that. That being said, this is also a chart of Hedera, and it appears that some whales have been buying up at these recent lows. Nearly 6 million Hbar purchased on this time frame here, and I think 5.5 million of that was from one whale transaction. So an awful lot of Hbar being purchased by some whales. Clearly see the potential upside. That being said, this kind of wraps up this video. Obviously, this is not as cheery as you typically see. Majority of that being is that we are in very unprecedented times currently with the markets. My thesis has not changed whatsoever. I'm continuing to average into these positions, and I will continue to make videos even if we do enter a bear market, which is looking more and more likely as the days go on. Hopefully we see some positive news out of those announcements tomorrow. I'll be sure to cover them regardless of what happens. And hopefully the next video will be with some more green in the markets. That being said, if you did like, please drop a like, leave a comment if you've got something to say, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy these videos, as there'll be more in the future. Until the next one, cheers.